Yes, y'all. What's up? What's up? We're back. We're back with another episode of BizBuzz Live. Today, we're going to be diving in to some important conversations around how to increase your cash flow. That's the reason why we're doing this anyway, right? Is to talk about increasing your cash flow. So, for if you're a business owner, if you're entrepreneurial minded, this is the episode for you. Stick around. Let's chat about it. All right, y'all. What's up? We are back for another episode of BizBuzz Live. I'm your host, Chris Muzan, your financial coach, financial therapist, helping you through all things finances. The reason we started this show, somebody asked me that question in my DM. The reason we started this show is because inevitably, by having financial conversations with people, with many people, whether we start talking about their debt, whether we start talking about their savings, whether we start by introducing insurance products to them or helping them with an estate plan, inevitably, when we start talking about money, the conversation to some shape or form comes back to cash flow, how money comes in and how it flows out of your life. How does it flow in and how does it flow out? Inevitably, we have that conversation. And whether people have a high paying job, but they don't really have a lot of time and their money goes to a lot of expenses, or whether they have a low paying job and they're looking for a second stream of income in order to kind of supplement their income, or whether they're full entrepreneurs and learning business and understanding sales and marketing and how to really grow your revenue of your business, or whether you're in the gig economy and you're on a 1099 and you're doing a bunch of little things to bring in income. The conversation around what comes in and what goes out is incredibly important. And so that's why we take time on BizBuzz Live to talk about what are some of the ways, the areas, the things you need to know about in order to bring in more money for you and your family. You know, they've kind of taught us one way here in society. They've kind of taught us just to go to school, get good grades, get a good job, work at the job, get some higher education, get a better job, get more pay, and then that's going to take care of your life. Well, that's not necessarily always the case for people, especially with layoffs happening and changes in the economy and changes to industry and different sectors and things that become important, things that are not important anymore. It's really tough to say that that's just the model. So we always have to have additional ways to be able to support ourselves, our family, and ultimately cash flow is the driver of all the rest of your financial life, your income, how you choose to make money, how much of it you learn how to earn becomes the driver of all the other things. How much you can save, how quickly you pay off debt, how much you can invest, where you can invest, how much protection you need. All those things actually just stem from how you make money. And so that's why we talk about this stuff. And I think it's important for us to have these conversations. You hear a lot of financial people talking about the product side of things, or even there's some people here on LinkedIn and YouTube, right, that talk a little bit about the mindset side of things, or the skill set side of things. But a lot of times we just need to get some ideas of what to actually do. Just some ideas of like what's happening in the retail space, what's happening in the restaurant space, what's happening in the technology space, what's happening in the government space, like what's happening in entrepreneurship. What industry should we be looking at? How do we maximize and capitalize on what's happening around us so we can make more money? So that's why we're talking about today, because it's a special day. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Love Day to everyone. Today's a day, ladies and gentlemen, go out and show some extra people some love. Obviously, you should be loving on the people that right, that are around you, your family, your friends, the people close to you. But today's a day you want to show a little bit of extra love, right? Give a little extra love to some of those people out there. It'll go very, very far. But on days like today, on a holiday, on a Valentine's Day, some of y'all see this as a holiday, some don't. I know my daughter sees it as a holiday, but she sees everything as a holiday. So she's just in that phase, and I don't necessarily take anything away from her. But for us, right, for people that are actively trying to go out and grow your financial life, you're trying to build something. These are the days you got to pay attention to. right? You got to start paying attention to the holidays. You got to start paying attention to the days where people want to consume, I remember a mentor of mine a while ago used to remind me that, like, once you're a business owner, you have to start thinking like a business owner instead of thinking like a consumer. And so the weekends typically are when we consume, right? The weekends, Friday night, Saturday, is when we start consuming. Let's go shopping. Let's go to the mall. Let's go eat. Let's go buy a car. Let's go shopping for a home. Like, the weekends is typically when people spend a lot of money, right? It's where consumers live, because again, they're mostly Monday through Friday, and then they take the weekend off and they can go spend the money. And so as a business owner, you start thinking, well, maybe I should be the opposite. Maybe I shouldn't be consuming on the weekends and being a consumer. I should be the seller, the producer, the person that people come to on the weekends in order to spend their money. And then I'll spend my money, I'll consume during the week. Like, if I really need to go shopping or something, I'll go on a Tuesday night or on a Wednesday afternoon or something. Again, if you have that luxury as a business owner, you start seeing that, hey, the weekends are probably times that I should be producing more. I should be doing more sales instead of consuming more. Well, same thing when it comes to holidays and special events, whether it's, Valentine's Day, like right now, right? What can you do? Because there is normally a boom in local businesses during times like this, right? During times like this, when it's Valentine's Day, it just happened to me yesterday. I forgot today was Valentine's Day. In all honesty, I forgot. It's not anything necessarily that's too big for me. But again, my daughter reminds me all the time. And so I was I'm trying to send some flowers, not for Valentine's Day, for some condolences. Somebody that we know passed away. And so I was like, I had a little bit of time as I was like leaving my office, and I was like, you know what? Let me run by this florist. Let me run by this flower shop and see if I can pick out like a good flower arrangement for the condolences for this person. And I walk in the store and it's jam packed. It's jam packed. And I'm like, and it's all red and hearts. And I was like, oh, it's Valentine's Day. Like, today would not be the day. The day before Valentine's Day would not be the day to go into a flower shop and do anything outside of buying Valentine's Day stuff, right? Because florists are one of those businesses that would boom on a day like today. They might not after today. They might not, a florist might not be needed again until Easter or some other big like floral arrangement type of holiday. But today, Valentine's Day is one of the days I'm sure they sell the most roses or vases or whatever it is that, right, their big money is coming from. Today's one of those days. I'm sure they capitalized on it. I'm sure, because I was in the store, I'm sure that florist had specials up the week, and I think 2 weeks before, just to get people to show up to their shop. Well, they know it's going to be busy, so now they incentivize it by saying, "Hey, how do we capitalize on Valentine's Day? Maybe we throw a bundle together. Maybe it's a floral arrangement and a card, and you get this box of chocolates for free," right? But they're taking advantage and capitalizing on a special event, a holiday, something that's important. So flower arrangements are on days like Valentine's Day are industries or segments of industries that start booming. A lot of other local businesses and card makers and people that make baked goods, like you make cookies or pies or whatever it is that you make. Like, these are the days that you boom, that you make more money, that your cash flow increases in your business, that your revenue increases in your business. If you're smart about it, if you're paying attention to it, if you're thinking about, hey, how do we move the needle in our business for this time, around and according to whatever the season is, whatever the holiday is, right? Like, that becomes important. And so, again, this show is about you creating cash flow and more cash flow. How are you capitalizing on this? Do you have a hobby? Do you have a talent? Do you have a skill set in something creative, in something around flowers, and something around, building bouquets or bundles of things that people enjoy? Are you a home baker? Do you make cakes and cookies? Like what can you do around a Valentine's Day to be able to grow your revenue? You got to think about it. Valentine's Day is just one example. We got holidays constantly coming up. There's St. Patty's Day coming up after this. I think there's, Easter right after that. And then don't forget about anniversaries and birthdays. And if you really want to get into it, go to Google or chat and take a look and see like, hey, what are the like specialty holidays? You know what I would always see, and I still see it all the time, like in the restaurant space, big chains typically know when it's like National Cheesecake Day or National Milkshake Day or National Burger Day or National Pasta Day. Big chains always know those things. Small local restaurants around the country typically don't even pay attention to that stuff. And I'm always curious why. Your biggest chains know that it's National Burger Day, so they make a buy one, get one free. Your biggest chains know that it's National Burrito Day, so, right, they give some type of discount. But your local Mexican restaurant, your local burger shack, they're not giving you the same special. Maybe it's because they're not thinking about their cash flow. Maybe it's because they're not focused on how to capitalize on special events and holidays. But if you are in the business, if you are in a business and you can capitalize on a holiday or a special event, I highly recommend that you do it. Now, it takes a little creativity. It takes a little planning up front, right? And sometimes that's where we lack as business owners or entrepreneurs, right? We lack the vision, the future planning, because we're so into the today, into the getting like stuff done right now, that it's sometimes hard to even sit back and be like, hey, a month and a half from now, 5 weeks from now, it's going to be St. Patty's Day. Like, let's start planning for it. Sometimes it's hard for a solo entrepreneur or somebody that has a lot of work on their plate. And so, again, I'm coming to just show you and share with you how these things can help you boost your cash flow. If you are aware of special events, if you're aware of holidays, and then you do things to be able to attract more business for those specific times, you create certain things that allow you to say, hey, here's what we're doing for Valentine's Day. Hey, here's what we're doing for St. Patty's Day. That's going to be able to increase your cash flow. Now, not to mention the other side of like special events. I'm an Eagles fan. Go Birds. Go Birds. Today's the parade. I chose to be with you instead of be at the parade today. So consider yourself lucky. I'm joking, y'all. I'm grateful for anyone that watches. I really am. But think about events like that. Think about an event like a parade, a championship parade in the city. Who capitalizes off of that? I know you see it everywhere you go if you're a sports fan, right? People always are selling T-shirts. People are selling hats. People are selling all types of merchandise for that team. Those are just little local entrepreneurs, local hustlers, local people that are like, oh, I can go print up 50 shirts. And since there's going to be 1 million people in this area, I'm sure I could sell 50 shirts to 1 million people. And that just raised their cash flow in that one day. Small investment. Put in $300, you get out $1,000. Cool. Good. Now you move on and do it again. But like I know there's going to be a bunch of people down at the parade that are capitalizing on the fact that there's 1 million people in a small area, all there for one cause. Whether somebody's selling Eagles merchandise, whether people are just selling beers, or right, whether restaurants have Eagles specials and green stuff on the menu or giving away free things, like businesses, smart businesses, local businesses will for sure capitalize on the fact that they got 1 million people in the area and it's a special event today. This is the mindset, right? This is the mindset. Remember, business is 90% mindset, 10% skill set. Sometimes we work so much on our skill set, but we don't think it's our mindset, right? So business is 90% mindset, 10% skill set. And so the mindset of when there's something special happening, I will cater to that special thing. When there's something happening in my area, I will figure out how to create, how to connect, how to build something that people need. That's how you grow your cash flow around special events and holidays and those things. I really believe local small businesses, not major corporations, they already capitalize on every holiday, right? Like they make some of these holidays up, right, just to capitalize on them. But small local businesses, you are a small business owner, you're thinking about increasing your cash flow. You're thinking about, how do I go from $100,000 a year business to a $500,000 a year business? How do I go from a $500,000 a year business to $1 million business? How do I go from a $40,000 business to a $100,000 business? Right? You're thinking about growing. Then holidays and special events are important times to be able to mobilize around, to be able to create around. That's if you already own a business. What if you don't own a business, but you need more cash flow? You have a job, maybe you're in the gig economy. It's just not doing all that it needs to do. You know, you need a little bit more. You right, got the horsepower, like the businesses you're in and the things you're doing doesn't have the horsepower to get you to where you want to go. You know those things. Well, around special events and holidays, go be creative. Maybe you're not the creative one. Maybe you partner with someone that's creative. Again, it's all mindset. So maybe you don't bake cakes, but you know that this is going to be an amazing day for cakes. So maybe you partner with the person that bakes cakes and you just do the marketing. Let them do the cake stuff. You be the manager, system person. You put together, maybe you chip in some of the money for the marketing, all the stuff, right? So you guys build a business that way. I'm not sure what the ideas are. I'm not sure what your ideas are. I'm not sure what your talents are. All I know is when there's holidays, special events, those types of things where people are consumers, people are naturally consuming on these days. If you want to grow your cash flow, change the mindset to become a producer on these days. Don't just be a consumer. Don't just feed into what everyone else is doing. If you want to grow your cash flow, because that's all we're talking about. You don't want to grow your cash flow or you're at where you need to be, then don't listen. Go consume all you want to. It doesn't matter. But again, if you want to boost your cash flow, if you want to make more money, if you want to have more, right, supplemental income, if you want to have more savings or whatever the case is, you have to be creative around these times when people are spending a bunch of money. And literally, holidays and special events, people spend a bunch of money. Grant Cardone used to always say, who has my money? Right? Who has my money? So if you're thinking about increasing your cash flow, then I would highly recommend during these times, whether it's Valentine's Day and you're a florist, or you know how to get in touch with a florist, or you know how to get flowers, or you know how to wrap flowers, or you know how to make special bows, or you understand how to put together bouquets, or you bake, you can make heart-shaped cookies and heart-shaped brownies. Maybe you run a little Etsy store that's got a little creative things. Maybe you're creative on Canva and you can create little notes and posters that a husband or a wife might need for their spouse for Valentine's Day. I'm not sure, again, exactly what it is, but these are the times you have to be creative. These are the times you start thinking about, how can I put myself in a position to increase my cash flow? Back in the day, we used to just call this hustling, right? You got to hustle. You don't need an LLC and right. Like we had a conversation on another podcast that I used to do called The Good Life. And we would talk about like one of the misconceptions of like starting businesses. And I said on that podcast, I remember I said, if anyone tells you the first step to starting the business is setting up the LLC, you can tell that they're not giving you the right direction. Like that's not the first step to starting any business. That is like a technical step to having a legitimate business. That's a technical step, but that's not the first step. The first step is like find a need and see if you can solve the need. And no LLC needed. No, like if you go make 30 shirts today that say bleed green and you go down to the Eagles parade today because they won the Super Bowl and you sell those 30 shirts, you don't need an LLC. Sure, the IRS wants you to report that money somehow, of course, right? Like, but at the end of the day, that's not like you need to learn how to print it, how to carry it, how to package it, how to get it to people, how to sell it to people. Like that's what you got to learn. And so, same thing with what we're talking about today. The first step to you increasing your cash flow is just getting creative and figuring out the opportunities that are around you and what you can do, how you can serve it, right? Like if you got to sell something out of the trunk of your car or just by DMing people on LinkedIn, then go do that, right? But at the end of the day, if you're trying to increase the cash flow, you got to make sure that you're being creative around these special events and holidays. It's incredibly important to make sure you're capitalizing on this. You may have local events in your town. You may have local events in your area that you're just not aware of that need some things. They're on a Saturday, they're out consuming. They want to spend their money. They want to pay you $20 for something. They want to pay you $75 for something. Do you have anything for them to buy? Do you have anything for them that they can consume while you produce? Literally talking to my daughter about this type of stuff right now. My daughter's 7, by the way. She's 7. And we're talking about what are the businesses and what do people need and when do people consume it. And she's reading business books. And maybe you can call it brainwashing because we're basically instilling in her that she needs to be an entrepreneur. But I don't feel bad about it, only because they instilled in us that we need to go to school and have a job. So one way, right? It is what it is, right? If they instilled in us that go to school, get good grades, get a good job was the way, we can instill in our daughter whatever we think is the right way. And being knowledgeable about these types of things, being knowledgeable about how to increase your cash flow, how to see an opportunity, how to spot opportunity, and then how to execute on that opportunity. Every time there's a special event, every time there's a holiday, that's another opportunity for you to grow your cash flow, especially if you have a business in that area, in something. Again, St. Patty's Day, you just sell a bunch of green things, unless you're Irish. If you're Irish, right, like then maybe you got some more things that you can do. Maybe there's it opens up the world of I don't know, other Irish things. Who knows? But there's always opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I wanted to make sure that you knew that there's opportunities around special events and holidays. If you just get creative and you start putting things in place and executing on it, things will get good. Things will get good for you, but you got to be aware of it. You got to be open to it. You got to know that if you want to make more money, you got to do some different things. You got to have some different conversations. You got to shake some new hands. You got to be creative. Our brains are meant for creativity. If your brain is not creative, I would encourage you to declutter it a little bit. It's probably cluttered because our brains are meant for creativity. There's nothing been able, to replicate the human brain, the human body. It's right. It's unique. We're made in the image of God, right? So at the end of the day, you got to use your brain to be creative. I heard a pastor say this one time: our brains are not meant for storage. Our brains are meant for creativity. We just store a lot of things up there. We think about a lot of things. We store a bunch in there. But really, if we can declutter it, we can declutter our brain a little bit, and then we can start to have this creative side come through a bit more. And I hear somebody right now saying, Chris, I'm not creative. I'm not creative. That's not true. You've been conditioned to store things in your brain and not create things. But everyone's creative. This is why every functioning child builds with Legos or plays with crayons. It's every child that comes out the womb that's capable, right? That's capable. Like you're giving them something creative because that's what our brains are designed to do. They're designed to be creative, to create. You could, as a kid, you just draw pictures. Here's a picture of the sun in my house and my family, right? Like that's like every child does that. Or they're building with Legos and blocks and all types of things. That's why you give these toddlers blocks and things to because we're naturally creative. So in your stage right now, you might have just gotten too cluttered in your brain and there's too many things and you've gotten away from your creativity. But if you want to be successful in business, if you want to increase your cash flow, you want to get to a different life, you want to be able to make more money and have more things and do more things and become better, right? Well, then you're going to have to learn to be creative. I would recommend start being creative around some of these special events and holidays that you can capitalize on, bring yourself in some extra money and really maybe be able to build something big. Many entrepreneurs out there talk about how it started really small and they thought they were just going to do this one thing and then all of a sudden it turns into a 7-figure business. That could be you. That could be you. Just giving you a little insight, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to increase your cash flow. Again, I know it's the driver of all things in your financial life. I know it's going to improve your savings. It's going to improve your investing. It's going to improve your tax situation, by the way. Maybe we talk about that on another episode. We come across a bunch of people that need to avoid some taxes. I did a webinar. Maybe we link it up or I drop it in the comments down here. I did a webinar. It's on YouTube, I think. It might be on our Facebook. I'm not sure. Where we talked to an attorney, or excuse me, we talked to a CPA about avoiding versus evading taxes, right? Because evading taxes is illegal, but avoiding taxes is smart. Like finding ways to avoid paying as many taxes as you're paying is actually part of the tax code. It's like why it's why rich people get rich, right? But at the end of the day, evading taxes is illegal. And so maybe there's some things that you need to do with your cash flow, with how it comes in, that can help you with your taxes. That's why, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, inevitably having these financial conversations with people, cash flow is the conversation we always come back to in some shape or form. After we get you set up with all the investments you need and get you out of debt and make sure you're tracking your money and budgeting and make sure you have the right protection and make sure all the stuff is in place, eventually it'll come back to, how are we bringing in more money? Or if we feel like we bring in a high income as a W-2, how do we avoid some of these taxes? These become the conversations around cash flow I want to have with you. I want to make sure that you're equipped to know exactly what to do. We're going to shift a bit as we continue to do these, that we're going to dive into more industry specific things. I'm rounding it up right now that we're going to have some HR leaders and some recruiters and people that are actively in different industries, different fields, listening to what companies are looking for, watching what is successful in a hiring process. We're going to start talking about some of those things because, again, I talk a lot about entrepreneurship because I believe in it. And I know there's a bunch of you sitting here on LinkedIn that actually just want to go have a job, which is fine too, right? It's just you got to find different ways to boost that cash flow because the job will always kind of keep you underpaid. Right? That's just the way it goes. Nobody at a job gets paid what they're worth, really. So as long as we can start figuring out some of those industries that are open, that there is good money flowing, that it is a need, right? Then that'll be a way to increase your cash flow as well. And I'm here to give you all the different strategies, all the different ways to be able to do that, ladies and gentlemen. So again, check in with us every single Friday here, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, which is 7:30 Pacific. I know it's kind of early for y'all, but we do these these BizBuzz lives. Excuse me. I got a bunch of shows. We do these BizBuzz lives to make sure that you're getting the information you need to increase your cash flow. All right. All right, y'all. Until next week.